Morning, everybody. Grab your Bible, turn to Matthew chapter 6, please. Matthew chapter 6. We have a lot to celebrate this morning, and I want to add something to the list. We've got Bryce and Brindley had their baby, a little girl, right? Does anybody know what they named that baby? Carter. Okay, sorry, not Kavina. They didn't name that baby after me. Okay, I just want y'all to know that my goal as a preacher, your eternal salvation is kind of important, but really I want to be so august and revered that someday somebody names their baby after me. I'm just throwing it out there to you guys. Just put that bug in your ear. So man, that's awesome. Bryce and Brindley having their baby, and Reagan, we're so glad you're here with us, and I look forward to getting to know you and serving alongside you. There's another thing I want to celebrate. We need to celebrate some milestones. I went to church camp last week with the middle school kids, and it was Grady McKnight's first time ever directing a session. And guys, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. God bless him and his wife and family, but hopefully we'll see many, many more years of that. And I'll also throw this to you. If you're ever struggling with your ego, if you feel like you're getting a little too prideful, go to church camp for a week with a bunch of teenagers. I pulled my hamstring on Monday and ended up limping around all week playing Capture the Flag. And then Wednesday, I was worshiping with those kids in the mess hall, and one of the kids turns to me and goes, "Kevin, you've got a really good voice." And I was like, "Thanks, man." He goes, "Yeah, you can be older and I guess still have a good voice." Just crushed me. He crushed me. Speaking of humility, as you read through the Sermon on the Mount, it should be an incredibly humbling experience. That was our theme for the week at camp. I've been preaching through it this year, but that's what we did at camp. Matthew 5, 6, and 7, you start reading about blessed are the poor in spirit and the pure in heart, the peacemakers. When I read that, I just realize I'm not there. And then you read on and to Jesus start talking about it's not just enough not to murder, but you don't need to harbor anger in your heart. And he talks about it's not just enough not to commit adultery, but you don't need lust in your heart. And don't seek vengeance and love your enemies. And I hear all that stuff and I'm like, oh, I have so far to go. If anything should keep you humble, the Sermon on the Mount should keep you there. Because what Jesus is doing is setting a standard that's so far above kind of our weak little attempts at keeping the rules. I mean, he is going so deep that it should keep us humble and open to the working of God in our lives. So, in that thought, we're going to read Matthew 6, 19 through 24, and then we'll talk about it. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Okay, this is all one thought. Everything Jesus shared here is all connected. And in fact, the next section is connected to that section. But let's just start with this. What do you treasure? What do you value? What do you care about the most? What do you pursue? What are you trying to chase down and add to your life? These are the things that you treasure. As a kid, I thought treasure was pretty cool. I think I watched Treasure Island as a kid. I can't remember the version, but John Silver with the peg leg and the pirates and the treasure on the island, that captured my imagination. So when I got older, I thought, I'm going to try to get on eBay by the time eBay came along, and I wanted a doubloon. I wanted a Spanish doubloon. And I started looking on how much those cost and what it would take to get one. And then I thought, is it really pirate treasure if you pay for it off of eBay? No, you have to steal that doubloon, right? That's the only way it's really pirate treasure. So I went and stole some doubloons. It worked out. Your treasure matters. The things that grasp your attention and your imagination, the things that capture your passion and your heart, the things that you pour yourself into, those things dictate the course of your life. Christian, what I'm asking you to do this morning is step back for a minute, evaluate yourself, and see what you really value. If you want to know what you treasure, look at what you pour your time and your effort and your passion into. That's where your heart truly lies. The things that get you excited, the things that you just pursue with everything you have, that's where your heart is. Find your treasure, find your heart. So that's what we've got to value the right things. In the kingdom of heaven, remember, you've moved out of the domain of darkness into the kingdom of the Son God loves. And when you move from one place to another, things are just different. If you went to another country, you'd be hearing maybe a different language, you'd be experiencing different food and culture and customs and laws. In the same way, things change in the kingdom of heaven. When you move from the world to the kingdom, you start valuing things differently. Your want to changes. The things you treasure, where your heart is, changes. And you stop investing yourselves in worldly things and start investing yourself into pursuing the things of heaven. I reread that in the past 2 weeks. Look in verse 19 again. Jesus could not be speaking more plainly. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. So here's what you do. Step back and look at your life. And do not place a high value on anything that can be broken, that will rust away, that can be stolen, anything that can decay, anything that can fall apart. Do not pour your life into chasing after those things. Now, the world will tell you that's exactly what you chase after. You chase after a bigger bank account, more retirement, bigger house, nicer car, and you pursue that until you can upgrade and upgrade. But that's what the world says. Jesus says that's not what your life consists of. So take stock and look at all the things that can fall apart and won't last, and you value those things very lightly. For example, that new shirt you bought. Oh, the shirt I'm wearing right now. Oh, I was about to say I've had this for years, but I honestly don't know. I'd have to ask Courtney. Like, this could be a 20-year-old shirt or a 1-year-old shirt. I wouldn't know. But what I do know is that in 50 years' time, this shirt will have zero value for me at all. None. My truck that's in my driveway at home, 50 years from now, will have no value. In fact, maybe in 5 years, this shirt or that truck will have no value for me, right? Check the things that are temporary. Maintain them. Take care of them. I mean, don't treat them like dirt, but don't value them. Don't pour your life into them. Don't pour your sweat and your tears over that stuff because it has no real value. Instead, you start laying up for yourselves treasures in heaven. You don't pursue those temporary worldly things. You chase after with everything you got the things of heaven. You have the ability right now to turn the temporary into the eternal. You can invest temporary things to gain eternal reward. Your time, your effort, your passion, you can waste them chasing after the things in the world that will be lost and broken and stolen and destroyed, or you can run full out after the things that will last for eternity. Now, I want you to look at who Jesus was talking to and who Jesus was as he was talking to them. He is talking to people, calling them to be his disciples, and he's saying, don't you cling to this stuff on the earth. David mentioned The Chosen earlier. I love just watching that show to get a picture of Jesus and his disciples. And you get a picture that those guys weren't clinging to much. Those disciples had left behind a whole lot to fully follow after Jesus Christ. And I think mentally we think we're doing that, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're letting ourselves be bound and tied down to the things that just don't matter. One of the most freeing times in my life was when I left for the mission field. Now, I wasn't married and didn't have kids, so take that kind of with a grain of salt. But at that point in my life, I liquidated until I owned a suitcase full of clothes, a suitcase full of books, and a guitar. I'll be honest, that's not a bad life. I had to liquidate because I didn't need to be bound by the things of America when I was in Peru doing what God wanted me to do. But it was very freeing. Christians, some of us need to break the chains and free ourselves of those things that are tying us down. Let them go. They don't have the value that you think they do. And instead, grasp hold of the eternal mindset. Look who is giving this command to his disciples then and to his disciples today. This is the Son of God, who around 30 years before he made this statement was in heaven itself. When he's saying, you lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, he's not saying, I suspect it will be a better use of your time and passion and energy. He's not saying, I hope it will. He's speaking from real knowledge of having been in heaven and then walking the earth, and he knows what's really valuable. He's telling those people then and us today, what you find in heaven is going to be so much better than what you're finding here. So invest in the right spot. This is a guy who's speaking from experience. He knows the value of things. So what we do is we invest temporary things, our time, our effort, our passion here on earth to gain eternal reward. Here's what that looks like, kind of. This is a Peruvian inti, is what they call them. I think it was 1985, their unit of coinage and their monetary system, the inflation had gotten so bad that they had to abandon it, and then they started using the inti. Then the inflation on the inti got so bad in just 6 years that they had to abandon the inti. And they switched over to the Nuevo Sol. And for a time, 1 million of these was worth one of these because the inflation was so high. When I was down there, that was worth, I think about 3 of those for $1. 3.5, depending on the exchange rate. But on July of 1991, they moved from that coin, that monetary system, to this monetary system. And in July of 1991, this would cease to have any value. You couldn't take your inti in and buy food. You couldn't take it and get somebody to cut your hair with it. You couldn't buy a car with it. In July, it ceased to have value. And from then on, only the soul would have any value. In the same way, this is your life here on earth. It has temporary, limited value. But they had to convert intis to souls. One day in heaven, this is your heavenly treasure that you're laying up. This is what has real value. So what you do is you use what you have, your physical stuff that can be stolen or broken, to survive here. But what you're going to want to start doing is investing in your permanent eternal future. You quit chasing the temporary and you invest in the eternal. There will come a day when the dollars in your bank account, the car that you own, the house that you live in will have zero value. Zero value. Those things that weigh on your mind, those things that too often we chase after and stress over and worry about, they will have no value at all. What Jesus is saying to do is, you use that temporary stuff to gain eternal stuff. Now, what's that eternal stuff? What really lasts? What are those treasures in heaven that have true value? How do you do that? It's pretty simple. Souls are eternal. You can do things that God values that will have eternal benefit. You can take care of people who are in need. Here's an example. You could immediately today, well, I'll tell you what, let's finish the rest of this and I'll give you some more examples. Eyes. He starts talking about eyes. And what he's talking about is what you desire. What you desire, the way you live your life, makes you see things in different ways. For example, if you just walk through this building, you're going to see it one way. Well, and I'll give you if Travis, the guy who's in charge of our facilities, walks through the building, he's looking at, hey, what needs fixed? Where are we having leaks? What do we need to improve? What are we going to need to maintain? That's what he's seeing when he walks through. When Angela, our children's minister, walks through the building, she's thinking, is this safe for kids? Do we have anything left out that kids could hurt themselves with? Do we have a secure area to keep them safe and help them grow, right? Two different people, both good people with good heads on their shoulders, seeing the same thing in different ways. Your eyes show what you desire. If you start desiring the wrong things, specifically in the context of what Jesus is saying here, when you start chasing after worldly things and desiring worldly things, your vision darkens. Courtney, my wife, worked for an optometrist, or a couple of different ones for a long time, which is really handy for me because I have eye problems. Some of you guys know I have eye problems. My eyes dry out, and sometimes the lid of my eye sticks to the cornea of my eye, and then when I open it, it just rips it right off. Feels great. It's really, you guys should try it. It's miserable. So she knows eyes, and she was telling me about macular degeneration, and some of you probably have that. There are conditions, a lot of conditions that can affect your eyes. But this is the difference between normal vision and macular degeneration. Part of your eye becomes darkened. You can't see things the way you should because darkness is coming over your eyes. And Jesus is saying, don't start wanting the wrong things. Start looking for the right things and desiring them, and then you'll have clear vision. Now that's like some kind of dog. I don't know what kind of dog that is with the normal vision. So it's maybe not that big a deal that the person with macular degeneration can't see it, but let's say it was a man-eating tiger. That would be a problem, right? Dangerous things can happen to you because you don't see them, because your vision is darkened because you want the wrong stuff. Jesus is saying, clear up the desires of your heart so that your eyes can be clear and your body can be filled with light. You'll see which way to go. You'll be able to avoid dangers. You'll be able to see the true value of things. It says you cannot worship God and money. You can't serve two masters. You will have one master in your life. You can't have two. You can't say, God is my Lord and Master, but also I'm going to chase after this worldly stuff. You can't say, I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, and He's calling the shots, but also chase after money. You may convince yourself you can do it, but you just can't do it. Either Jesus is calling the shots in your life, or money is calling the shots. But they're not both. And if you're trying to cling hold of Jesus Christ and cling hold of the world, eventually you're going to have to let go of one or the other, or be torn apart. What I'm saying to you this morning is loosen your grip on the world. Quit chasing money, quit chasing stuff, and instead lay hold of Jesus with both hands, with everything you've got. Cling to Him and start living your life in a way that yields eternal benefit. Stop chasing the temporary. Stop investing your heart in the things that are of limited value. They can be broken, destroyed. You probably won't care about it in a few years anyway. And you start laying up treasures in heaven. I'll give you some ways to do it. Open up your house and invite in a brother or sister in Christ and strengthen your bond in Jesus Christ. Share a meal. Pray together. Be hospitable. That is a simple way to use an eternal thing, your home, or a temporary thing, your home, to have some kind of eternal benefit. Go to your bank account. Take some money out, find somebody who needs it more than you do, and bless them by giving it. Pure and undefiled religion, take care of widows and orphans. You find somebody who cannot take care of themselves, and you take care of them. That's what God does with you. You pass that on to somebody else. Treasures in heaven right there. A step further. That person that you know in your heart you need to tell about Jesus. Stop not telling them about Jesus. Love them. Start talking to them about him. Prayerfully, not arrogantly, prayerfully, humbly. Maybe it's as simple as just inviting them to worship on Sunday morning and to hear something about him. Maybe it's stepping outside of your comfort zone and just saying, man, I need to talk to you about this. Maybe start being a part of winning souls for Jesus Christ. That's eternal. All of those things yield eternal benefits. What I'm saying is, what Jesus is saying is, stop living cheaply. God has granted you a limited amount of time on earth. He's granted you, you've got a limited amount of time, a limited amount of opportunities. Make them count. So that one day when we're all celebrating in heaven, that celebration is maximized as much as humanly possible. And you'll see some brothers and sisters who would not be there if God hadn't moved in your heart and helped you reach out to them. You're going to see people there that otherwise would not be there if you hadn't stepped in to encourage and lift up or maybe even share the gospel. Stop living cheaply. Start living richly. That's my message this morning. Let me say this. If anybody right now hasn't even put on Jesus Christ in baptism, hasn't taken that first step, it's time. Don't hold back anymore. There's no use waiting around. The blessings and the riches of heaven are waiting on you. If you need Jesus, please come forward while we stand and sing.